Monica, I'm going to go right to you. Right to burn.
Yeah.
Should they burn?
He has a constitutional right to burn this Koran. Look, the same question about the Ground Zero Mosque applies here. Opponents of the mosque say, look, of course the developers have a right to build this mosque in this location. The question is, should they build this mosque in this particular location? I think the same question applies here. He has an absolute right to burn the Koran. He's trying to make a political statement, not a spiritual statement, so he is protected.
I'm looking at Colmes shaking his head. Monica, what do you mean, no?
Every one of these shows notice I'm further away from you each time we do it.
You're further left.
I want to be away from that bat. Anyway, look.
But the right to burn, yes or no?
Yes, he has the right to do it. But here's the game the right wing is playing. They're trying to draw equivalency between burning down a mosque, burning the Koran, and building what's already a mosque, or building a cultural center. There's no equivalency. The intent of one is to hurt and to hate. The other one is to educate and improve. They're two very different things.
However, Bo, I would argue that building the mosque right there may not be all lovey-dovey, as Alan points out.
Well, you want to know something? I've even changed my mind, Alan. If this imam wants to do what he says he wants to do, build a chapel and a synagogue in that same cultural area with the mosque, I may have a different opinion on it. I may have a different opinion, but as far as burning the Quran goes, I first think it's disgusting to burn any books that have to do with religion. Even though it's not my belief, I don't care. But he has the right. It's a First Amendment right. He has the right. And you want to know something? You can look every day over in the Middle East. American flags are being burned. People, these idiots in America, burn American flags. That's their right.
Wait a minute. When was the last time a flag was burned in America?
Last time...
In America or in the Middle East?
You know what?
Probably. Tell me when it happened.
What's the point, Alan? What's the point?
Well, because you're making a broad statement.
All right, here's my statement. All right, during the Vietnam War, how many American flags were burned?
Guys, please, let's stay on topic, Juan. But here's the issue. This gentleman, this pastor, crazy as he may seem, is making a point that, hey, he has the right to do it. He probably shouldn't do it, has the right to do it. What's the difference, as Monica points out, from the Ground Zero Mosque? They have a right, but maybe shouldn't do it.
Absolutely. It's a matter of discretion, and I find it offensive. If you were saying to me that you're going to burn the Bible, I mean, that would anger me, and I might react irrationally, because I don't see why you would want to burn God's word. Now, Quran is not God's word for me, but I would, as a matter of discretion and sensitivity to someone else's faith, and we live in a country built on religious tolerance, I don't see how you can do it. Not only that, remember, I come from Washington,
talk about that
and when General Petraeus says this is going to kill Americans,
that bothers me. I believe that he should have the right, but American soldiers are possibly going to get killed before.
That's the truth.
I believe at that point he shouldn't do it.
Hey, Bo, hold on. Monica, are we putting our soldiers in harm's way by protecting this pastor's right to burn the Quran?
Look, what we've heard continually from the left is the Constitution, right? We've heard the right to do this. They have the right to do that. Look, this really puts into bold relief, I think, the distinction between, say, Christianity, mainstream Christianity, Judaism, the other world's great religions, and Islam, because we are so afraid that if we burn the Quran, unlike if we burn a Bible, say, that there's going to be a huge outbreak of violence around the world against American targets, American soldiers. What does that tell you about Islam? That we are so afraid.
Is Petraeus wrong, Monica?
Alan, that's not the question.
Alan, stop. Let her finish.
The question is, what does that tell you about radical elements of Islam that we're so afraid that we're willing to sort of put the Constitution on the line that we're going to get this violent outbreak around the world?
If you were to have someone burn the Bible, if Muslims burned the Bible, you'd also have an outbreak of violence in this country.
From whom?
So hold on, guys, hold on. So, Alan, are you claiming or trying to say that if we were to stop this pastor from burning the Quran,
I'm not saying we should stop
that would suddenly solve the radical extremist hatred of the United States?
When did I say this, Eric?
I'm trying to figure out what your point is. Petraeus being wrong. No, he's probably not wrong.
Petraeus said, let me ask you this. If General Petraeus says, if we burn the Quran, if we do this, it's going to hurt the troops. If you wouldn't have then, couldn't you extrapolate from that when we renounce Islam, when we put it down, when we put down or make fun of this religion or say something negative about it? Aren't we
Juan is asking the Ground Zero Mosque. Hold on, guys. Is asking Imam Rauf to move it, not put it up, just move it a few blocks. Is that equivalent to renouncing Islam?
No. Why would?
Well, that's what Alan's insinuating.
I didn't say that was equivalent. What show are you listening to?
I'm listening to the
'Cause I
show.
didn't
You just
say
said-
that.
you just said that. Those are
I
your
made
words.
the point that if you're going to say something negative about Islam, that also endangers our troops, given what Petraeus said.
But say something negative, Alan. Is there a commentary on Islam for me not asking them to move the mosque 2 blocks away? Am I making a commentary on all of Islam?
I said there are those who are using this as a way to slap.
All right,
this
but that's
entire-
not.
let me
That's
just
not. Hey,
throw
guys,
something in.
I want to bring in Eric Stakelbeck. He's from the CBN network, guys. He's a terrorism and analyst reporter for the Christian Broadcasting Network. You think this is unusual, Sir Eric? Go ahead, weigh in on this. Where are you? Where's the CBN network on the pastor who wants to burn the Quran?
Well, I don't speak for the CBN network as a whole, Eric. I speak for
Okay.
myself when I come
Fair
on
enough.
here. But look, obviously, Jesus would not burn books. Anytime you're following the example of Adolf Hitler, you're on pretty shaky ground. So this pastor obviously is a fringe character, a kook, roundly condemned by normal Christians like myself around the country. So that's the bottom line here. This is a stunt. It's an attention-seeking exercise by this so-called pastor. But this brings up another point, and I think Monica hit on it, Eric. We are so afraid of offending Islam because of the constant threat of physical violence. And Alan, you wanted
Constant
examples
threat? Where's the constant
of where
threat?
Bible. Yes, there are absolutely. Alan,
Let him finish. Let him
Okay,
finish. Go ahead.
Alan,
Mainstream
you have to let me
Alan,
finish.
please let him finish. Go ahead, Eric.
Alan, there are specific instances in Iraq, in Gaza, in Pakistan of Christians being massacred by Muslims, of Bibles, yes, being burned. There's a reason the Iraqi Christian population has decreased by about 1 million people in the past 7 years. But you don't hear a peep about that,
the biggest
especially
problem in
among
Iraq
you and your
is the
friends on the left, Alan.
Shiites. You're misstating what's going on, and that's a political
No,
issue,
I'm
not a
not,
religious
Alan, you
issue.
are.
You sounds like you want a holy war.
Oh, come on.
Oh, Alan, you know
Sounds
what?
like you want a holy war.
Okay,
You want to
Alan.
make it about Christians
Alan.
versus Muslims. You ought to be ashamed
Alan,
of
that's
yourself.
quite a statement to make. And
That's
we haven't
exactly
met-
what you're sounding like, sir.
I talk for a minute on TV, and now I'm a crusader who wants
That's what
a
it
holy
sounds
war.
like to me.
That's an awful.
you know
That's
what?
quite a
Hang on, go ahead,
presumption of
Monica.
you to make,
Hold-
Alan. You don't even know me.
Eric, hold on. Go ahead,
Let
Monica.
me
weigh
just
in.
make a really important point about what Alan just threw out there, which was completely outrageous. The enemy calls this a holy war. We are in
Who's
one.
the enemy? Muslims?
We are
Who's the
in one,
enemy?
whether
Muslims?
you like it or
I
not.
think what you're
And
doing, I think the kind of rhetoric we are using here
Alan, can I please finish
is
one
outrageous,
sentence?
and it's
Alan, this
absolutely
is the problem,
outrageous.
Alan. People
What?
like you with a mind malfunction, just like you.
Oh, yeah,
are the
attack
causes
me personally.
and why
Alan, let him
Attack me
finish.
personally. Wait a minute, you just said I had a mind malfunction?
Alan, you
Yes.
haven't
You
stopped
wanna
talking
attack
for a
me
minute. Go
personally?
ahead, Bo.
You
Go
just
ahead.
told me
I
I
wanted
wanted
to
to
My
crusade.
thing
You're
is,
going to get offended by
you
that?
live in fairyland,
Oh, I
but you
see,
don't
okay.
think that we're a target. We have been a target
Not by
of the
mainstream
extremist
Muslims. Not by
that are trying to
mainstream
kill us.
Muslims.
And you forgot
And
about
knock it-
9/11.
hey,
Hold on,
Knock
guys.
off the
Guys,
personal
hold on,
attack.
You guys laughed.
Let me
Who
get
put that attack?
guys,
Mickey
please,
Mouse?
please, let me get Juan in here.
Let me just say,
Please weigh in.
let me just say, I appreciate the idea that this guy is acting irrationally. The reporting that we saw at the top of the show, I think, reveal what a charlatan he is, as we just heard from the guy from the Christian Broadcasting Network. But let me just say, when you say we are afraid of Muslims because of their violence and their extremism, nobody is denying this man's right to do it. I don't hear the president, the Secretary of State, General Petraeus, saying, go get that guy and stop him from burning the Koran. Never heard it, and you will never hear it in this
Secretary
country.
Clinton came out and they all
condemned
call him a
him.
nut.
And others
yes,
have as
here,
well.
bro.
Even our liberal mayor here.
But Mayor,
even our
hey,
liberal mayor
I'll
said-
say, he's a nut. He's a nut.
Even Eric Kohler says he's, what do you call it, idiotic for doing so. But
Yeah.
as Juan points
Let-
out,
let me-
not telling him not to do it, though.
Let me just make a provocative argument in the defense of the rationality of what he's trying to do. Not in defense of what he's doing, but the rationality. I think what this pastor is trying to do is mirror the enemy. In other words, we see the enemy all the time, burning the American flag, burning Bibles, screaming death to America, beheading Americans like Danny Pearl. I think what he is trying to do is hold a mirror up to the enemy, saying, okay, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Now let's see.
You know
how
what?
it
You
reacts.
give him
That's
too
a hard-
much credit.
that's
This
a
guy
great
is not that
evaluation.
smart, not that deep. You know what he's
Eric.
after? He's after this show,
Eric.
doing a story about him and promoting his name
Could
and
be,
making
could be,
him
could
some
be
big
very
star.
well. But
I don't
Eric,
think
I hear his congregation of 50 has dwindled down to 20. He lost 30 or so. But let me ask you this: one of your points of view, you say Muslims are expecting special treatment. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. Well, look at the Muhammad cartoons, Eric. I mean, someone drew some cartoons of Muhammad a few years ago. This led to the deaths of hundreds of people and riots throughout the Muslim world. You are not allowed to criticize Islam, Muhammad in any
Eric,
way, form, or fashion that other religions like Judaism, Christianity, any other religion is subjected to.
Hold on, guys. Let me just throw this out here. There's been outrage. I want you to respond to it, but there's been outrage over the Muhammad cartoons.
Yeah.
I think there was a South Park episode. Alan, please. Yet they've had Jesus on cartoons. South Park has done shows on Jesus as well. This one had to be different. They pulled this episode.
You're talking about a small percentage of people. You're painting with too broad a brush, Eric. You keep using the word Muslims as if what you're talking about represents the entire Muslim population. You're talking about a small group
it's just
of
a
radicals
tiny minority of
please let me
extremists,
finish
right,
now.
Alan? A
Please
tiny
let me finish
minority.
now, sir. Which do not represent, by and large, the greatest people, a great religion, one of the world's great religions. It is a religion of peace, and
Alan,
it continues to be
have you ever read the
misrepresented
Quran?
here when you paint with too broad a brush and try to paint everybody
Alan,
by what the
Simon
radicals
Rusky,
And you're
remember Simon
misrepresenting me when
Rusky?
you call me
Remember the
a
guy who wrote
crusader,
the
Alan?
verses? Why was there a death penalty put upon him?
Does that
Simon
represent-
Rusky. You know what it represents?
radical
it
Islam.
represents the fact that, you know what? You could make a picture of Jesus Christ. You could make a joke.
Right.
But if you do it against Muhammad,
We're
you
talking
are
about
going to
the
have a
United
death threat against you.
Most-
Hold on,
That's
guys,
baloney.
guys.
Muslims
Guys.
think that way? You think most Muslims are like
The
that?
majority do.
You're absolutely
Hold on, Alan. Go ahead, Monica.
Let's put out
Alan,
another.
how do you know? Alan, how do you know?
Well
How do
read.
you know
Question.
that, Alan?
Good question.
Alan's
Let's-
becoming
How
a
do you know
Muslim,
that?
I
Alan,
think.
have you ever even
I would
read
have
the
no
Quran?
problem with that. It's a
honestly?
great religion. You
How
should
do
have
you
respect
know?
for it.
Some Allah
How do you
like
know
him,
how the
become
Muslim
one.
world thinks? Are you an Islamic expert now, Alan?
Are you?
I actually am,
9/11,
Alan. I
a
am
lot
an
of us
expert
are
on Islamic
actually.
terrorism. Yes,
Monica,
I
go
am.
on, please.
Right, exactly,
Yes.
Eric. Since
I've
9/11,
actually read the books, Alan,
a lot of
unlike
us
you
are.
and the left.
Yeah,
I am the
exactly.
left. Thank you for
Let me-
smearing the entire left
You are.
and
Oh,
using
yes,
me
you
as an
are.
example.
Well, I don't think this is
the
left
kind
to
of
right.
Absolutely,
I don't think this is a left to right issue.
You are
Listen,
certainly the
Monica,
left.
Guys, hold on. Go ahead.
Let me just
But
raise
I'm a
Your
crusader.
hatred is what we're
All
seeing
right,
here.
let me just raise another example here.
This is how liberals shut down conversation. Honest,
exactly,
open
Eric.
conversation.
Eric,
Racist,
I don't
bigot,
have the power to
hater.
shut down.
That's what
like
you're
what
doing,
you said.
Alan.
Monica's
I like
got,
what you
don't have
guys,
an
Monica
intellectual
has the
argument here, Alan.
Guys, Monica has the floor.
I just want to raise another example of what we're talking about, the distinction between the radical elements of Islam, which we're also intimidated by, and Christianity and Judaism. A couple of years ago, when Rudy Giuliani was mayor of New York, there was an art display with a picture of Jesus. It was a painting of Jesus with human urine all over it. It was called Piss Christ. A lot of people were outraged. Christians were offended. They were insulted by this picture, okay? And there was a big controversy, but you didn't see a widespread outbreak of violence because Christians don't go beheading and killing people when they're insulting. When they're insulted.
They do
That's
attack
the
abortion
difference
clinics and kill
between
people going to get
radical Islam
abortions
and
in the name
every
of
other
Christ.
religion in
That
the
happened,
world.
Alan.
Let me just say, let me challenge you from someone
Yeah,
else
sure.
who is close to your position, which is to say that when I hear our friend down in the Christian Broadcasting Networks and these folks here talk about extremist Muslims, I think, you know what, there are extremists.
Yes, there are, but I feel that
Wait,
you're
hang
using
on,
that to
let me finish this
extrapolate.
thought.
Go
Let me
ahead.
finish this thought. There are extremist
Yep.
Muslims who have committed atrocities.
Correct.
And I agree that there are Christians who have committed atrocities.
Correct.
But when we are, as an American people, aware that we have been attacked, vicious attacks, and we are aware of the root of this, that it's oftentimes dressed in the guise of Islam, justified in the name of the
Right.
Quran.
Correct.
I think that we would be intentionally blind not to say, you know what, there's some relationship here, and despite our concern about religious freedoms, we're going to identify
Last thought,
and call
Alan.
it what it
Last
is.
thought.
The problem with that, though, is that too many people seem to then paint with too broad a brush and try to take that radical Islam, which I don't think is real Islam, any more than bombing an abortion clinic is real Christianity,
Right.
All right.
and try to make all Muslims guilty of those.
Yeah, but it's still the point that you still have to deal with radical Islam and call it for what it is and go after it.
Yes, but that's not make it
Alan,
bigger than it actually is.
we're going to have to call it there. We're going to say thank you to Eric Stakelbeck from the CBN.